So, Michael, thank you for taking the time to speak with us, and thank you for being such an important and strategic customer of Microsoft.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
As you've gone through the last 4 months and perhaps worked all the time from home, what has been the impact to the business? What has Standard Chartered gone through? And before we go into the answer, love to get like a 60-second from you on how do you describe Standard Chartered Bank?
Yeah, thanks. Standard Chartered Bank is an international bank which serves corporates and individuals. We are active in fast-growing markets across Asia, Middle East, and Africa. So very back in the history, we have been a British colonial bank, but now we are international bank, as I said, in this footprint.
And since your range of activities go from all the way in Africa, Middle East, headquartered, or twin headquartered between London and Singapore, and China and Hong Kong. I mean, the mosaic of what you cover is so wide. What are the business scenarios that are playing out for you in terms of both risks and opportunities?
Well, our main business on the corporate side is trade finance and international finance. So our customers are predominantly they are hit by the crisis, obviously, because trade went down. So they seek for advice how to deal with that situation from us. Since we are connected in 59 markets, we can give them a whole lot of hints and help to overcome this crisis. That's on the corporate side. On the private side, on the individual side, our main segment for the time being is the affluence and the mass affluence and wealthy people. So here, obviously, we had a whole all hands full to do to give them advice around their investments, which was pretty busy time, I would say. And obviously, for our employees, it was stressful in both regards, because they had to deal with their personal situation across our footprint, and then they had to help the clients, which also were under stress. Well, I can say confidently that we managed that so far quite well. Our clients are quite happy. They value our business, which we have given to them in the first months of the crisis. And also, we just concluded our survey. Our employees have dealt with that in a pretty good way. So we have been under a lot of work, but we managed it so far sufficiently well.
Michael, really pleased to hear about how you've described both the business and the people side. And I might completely oversimplify your business model, so I apologize for that. But I think about banks as great technology enabled by great people, right? The coming together of the two produces the products and the solutions that corporates and consumers buy. And if I were to divide that into two, which is technology and human capital, let's think first about people. And I'll share with you some anecdotes and a few facts about Microsoft. So in most of our town halls, we hear leaders talk about it. I talk about it. My other leaders talk about the fact that, work from home does not mean that you should work every time. Your mornings can't blend into the afternoons and the nights. Take a break. Ensure that the physicality of being at home must turn into also the reason for being home, which is, being with your families. We're actually saying that certain cohorts of employees at Microsoft are working up to 8 hours per week more. We're seeing coder productivity up, but in many instances, we are saying project delays. There are certain solutions that we go after where we're challenged by remoteness, like our gaming business. So as you think about the different aspects of human capital and the impact from a human capital perspective, what has been your biggest surprise and learning, if you will, through this process? And what have you changed as a leader and as a bank to ensure that you have an inclusive culture in an environment where everything is virtual?
Yeah. First of all, you might be surprised to hear this from the chief technologist of the bank. I was really surprised that it all worked so fine. So we had no incidents. Actually, we had the most stable period in the history of Standard Chartered. No incidents at all, and our people were tremendously disciplined and focused. So I think it's no secret. But the first 4 weeks, it was enormous pressure, and we worked probably 8 hours more, but per day. In order to keep the ship afloat. Once we realized that this is not something which goes away, we actually took some decisive measures, and we talked about it in our management team, and we said, well, we have to be cautious that people can take a break. So we kind of mandatory said, okay, you work from 8 to 6 or whatever it will be, and then we don't drag you into nightly calls or conferences or something like this. So we leave you in your private space to deal with yourself and your family. Second is, much more than before, we engaged with our employees. So since we had the possibility to actually, we ramped up the communication capabilities, video, audio, screen sharing in a very fast pace to virtually all the employees of the bank. We then, as line managers and leaders, engaged with our employees much more than we did before.
I'm really encouraged to hear, and these tales that I hear from many technology leaders and CEOs across our customer base gives me a sense of pride that we're working and being able to help customers like you create more resilience in the future. As I look to pivot this conversation then on, away from people, because the resonance on what you said is important. And again, just an anecdote, we in the Singapore area here, we're actually doing yoga breaks virtually and fitness classes virtually, et cetera, as well. So I like your 1K idea, which we might just steal from you. But on the technology side, you said as a technologist, you were surprised that things worked as well as they did. In many ways, digital transformation has been accelerated because of COVID. And, Satya in the earnings call said that he has seen 24 months of DX, deliver in 2 months. And that's driven by the fact that it's necessitated, it's become a fallout. What are your reflections on the timing of this crisis, now versus a few years ago, and how much you've achieved in 4 months versus a normal situation? If you could go back into the future and a little bit fast forward too.
Absolutely. So we were a little bit lucky that the crisis only hit us today. Because if we were in that situation like 5 years ago, it would have been a much worse outcome. Reason is we have been investing into digital tools, both internally and externally, and therefore we were kind of prepared for that kind of situation. Not that I was planning it for, but we had all the things which were necessary. So. This means the crisis actually was kind of an even accelerator, that now everybody who was on the digital journey really understood there's no way back. So we have to engage, we have to do all the transactional business with our customers in a full digital no-touch way. And this means it's very important that the digital transformation which we have embarked on, we actually carry forward. Also, to your point of acceleration, we saw the same effect because we had no choice. We could not run certain decisions through committees, ups and downs, and back and forth. We had to take a decision on the spot, and we did so in a very nice and a very collegial way. Having said this, we also saw the limitations of a digital model. When you think about our business, taking care of corporates and taking care of individuals, there are a lot of things which can be done in an automated digital way. But there are moments where people seek advice, where people are just unsure, where people actually also have an issue. And in these moments, they want to get in touch with a real person. This getting in touch not necessarily has to be physically to be in the same room, but to have a connection with a video chat or something like this is very helpful in these times. And we saw that the acceptance levels for this kind of communication has increased. Or the threshold for not doing it has dropped. So therefore, people are now much more open to engage with us by virtual means, but still in a human-to-human communication. And that's probably the biggest learning out of the crisis.
There's not an article that doesn't talk about the cloud. There's not a conversation that doesn't happen around the cloud. Yes, in Singapore, we get a fair share of our cloud, but that only brings rain. What does cloud bring to your customer?
Well, to be honest, and you might be disappointed, but it doesn't bring anything directly to our customers. I mean, our customers seek financial services from us, and they want us to give them help around that field. But obviously, it helps us to prepare these services and offer these services in a much better way than we did before. In a little bit more longer winding answer, I would say that the cloud computing is the first time that I believe that outsourcing makes sense. Mm-hmm. You guys, you have invested a whole lot of money into how to set up a data center, how to provision a data center, how to provision software, and finally how to run it in a cyber safe and very stable way. You have invested magnitudes of money more than I ever will be able to. And actually, I don't want to, because my business is financial services. So therefore, by just using the cloud as a carrier for our services is a logical step forward, and that's the reason why my colleagues, myself, my team, we have decided that we go for a cloud first approach. We will develop all the new software we make ourselves and we buy from the outside to be cloud enabled, and we will migrate in very big chunks our existing workload to the cloud in the next coming years.
What advice would you have for Microsoft in how we can better partner with you? And the last perhaps is, as a senior leader, as an experienced technologist at a bank, we hear lots of things in the world. We have to have more resilience. We should be prepared for cyber attacks. We need great customer experience. We need a very simplified way to get to consumers. If you were to say in your stack of priorities, what would be the top 2 advice you would give to fellow technologists, especially in your industry? So what can Microsoft do better, and what could your fellow technologists and CXOs do differently?
Well, we both have to do the same thing. We always at our business through the eyes of our customers, because what we think we do very smart and well might not be relevant to our customers, and vice versa. What they think is relevant, we just don't realize. So therefore, it's very important that you put yourselves in my shoes and stay in touch with me and discuss with me frequently. So what are our daily needs, both on the desktop side as well as on the cloud computing side, which will make my life easier. So the one thing I like Microsoft has been over a very long time an enterprise-focused company. There was a lot of emphasis on the enterprise. You have shifted a little bit to the consumer side, but recently you actually realized that the enterprise is a very big customer base of yours, and you have actually made up some very good acquisitions around for the enterprise space. Teams, which we are just using, is a very nice example of it. And so these are the steps which I certainly would like to encourage you to continue. What I would tell my my colleagues in the other banks. These days with the crisis, nobody knows how this pans out. The outcome of the crisis or the world after the crisis will certainly be different to the world before the crisis. And it's now time to take action. It's now time to not to sit and wait and hope that the old world will come back, but it's time to take stock, see what probably will prevail, what will die, and then focus on the right things to do going forward. And cloud is definitely one of it.
Thank you. Those are really, really helpful bits of advice. Thank you very much about your advice on Microsoft, which is always think outside in, think from the lens of the client, and to your technologists, which is act, don't keep thinking.
Thank you. Yeah,
looking forward. Stay safe. Be well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.